President Biden spending the weekend in Nantucket, but of course watching this hostage situation unfold. He will be bringing us remarks. We will bring those to you live when the president begins. Right now, what I'd like to do is bring in Derrick Anderson. He is a former Green Beret and has trained directly with the IDF in Israel. And, you know, I want to ask you this because the truth so far, it's holding up. We hope it continues, but this is certainly a tenuous situation. If you could tell us how nimble is IDF right now, and what are the concerns of having no surveillance over Gaza for hours now?
Yeah, I think tenuous is exactly the word that needs to be used right now. Compliance with the ceasefire is going to be critical right now. One of the things that I worry about is the communication apparatus that Hamas has in place right now. Look, so the IDF on their side, we know very well that they're equipped with radios and all types of things to get real-time live information on the ground. What I fear is that on the other side of it, on Hamas, is that there's some sub-faction, some subgroup that doesn't necessarily agree with the ceasefire, the terms of the ceasefire, or just is on their own as a unique entity, and or they just don't have the communications to get real live information to the troops on the ground. So again, it is a very tenuous situation. And again, I worry that anything could unravel this entire ceasefire. There's already been some allegations early on in the very, very few hours of the ceasefire that one side or the other wasn't complying. And again, it's a very, very, very tenuous situation. And that's one of the things that kind of sits in the back of my head as I think about the ceasefire as it moves forward.
And if I can, what about the hostages? We're in the process of hopefully releasing more and transferring more hostages. How are they maintaining the safety if, in fact, you have these other factions that could kick something off?
Yeah, and one of the things, too, is I know I was looking at some reporting earlier this morning. Hamas was very open in their negotiations, specifically with the IDF and their ISR, their drones that fly ahead. We all know very well that the IDF do have drones that are able to identify where Hamas is, locations. We saw it with the hospitals several weeks ago. One of the interesting things that I heard out there was that the Hamas said that they do not want IDF to be able to have that intelligence, i.e. when Hamas is bringing the hostages out, where they're coming from, what locations, how many, and all of that information is critical for the IDF once this ceasefire goes away. And let's be honest here. We need to really look at, in totality, what is the goal of the IDF? What is the goal of Israel? Israel's made it clear. They want to rescue hostages and they want to eradicate Hamas. But the question really is, what is Hamas's goal? Right now, they've been trickling hostages out of Gaza little by little. And I saw in one of your earlier segments, an individual was talking about how, this seems to be somewhat of a PR game where Hamas is trying to build, some sympathy throughout the international community by releasing hostages in these small bits. But again, as Trey was mentioning earlier, we have 200 plus hostages still out there. How long are they willing to hold on to these hostages throughout the ceasefire and or after the ceasefire?
You are watching Fox News Live. Kevin Corke, Arthel Neva with you. Derrick joining us at this hour. A reminder, the President of the United States is expected to address the hostage release, the first wave. That could be happening at any moment. We will take you there as soon as we have those pictures. In the meantime, I want to ask you, Derrick, about this idea of who might benefit first or perhaps even most by breaking the ceasefire. There's always this skepticism whenever there's a ceasefire brokered. Sometimes it says 4 days and then maybe day 3 or day 2. One side will break it. Who benefits here? Who's most likely to break it and why?
Yeah, I think it goes back, Kevin, to what I was saying earlier. If I had to put, money on the table of who's more likely to break it, it'd be absolutely Hamas. Now, the question is how they're going to frame it. Whether or not Hamas is going to frame this as, oh, well, the IDF shot at us first. They maneuvered in a certain position that they weren't supposed to. That's why I do think making sure that the negotiations, what actually the ceasefire entails, is important. Whether or not it means that the IDF have to stand in one place, whether they're not allowed to move. Same thing with Hamas. Is Hamas allowed to maneuver in this ceasefire? Are they allowed to build their positions? Are they allowed to operate within the tunnel systems? These are all important questions because Hamas is ultimately, at some point or another, if there were to be a break in the ceasefire, I would 100% say it would be on their side. But again, It all goes back to perception, and they're going to try to use the PR game to their benefit.
Always an excellent guest. Derrick Anderson has trained directly with the IDF. Thank you, my friend. We'll talk to you again very soon. Arthel?
Thank you both.
Yeah, let's bring in. Thank you. We're bringing in now Major Doran Spillman, IDF international spokesman. Major